So I've been blessed now for 25 years to work on the REV ever since its inception. And now we've got a team of wonderful translators that are working on it. And Jerry Wierwille is heading up the research department of Spirit and Truth, and also heading up then the research that's being done on the REV. So Jerry, what's coming up in the future for us? Where are we going here in the near future?
Well, one exciting thing that I get to announce is we are releasing an audio version of the REV. Rob Woods and I have been working for months to put together the ability through AI, text-to-speech generation, an audio version of the entire Bible. And so as you hold the REV and read it on any electronic device, you're going to be able to just hit a speaker icon and it will start reading to you the REV. So this will be for people who have accessibility issues with vision or who want to learn and read the REV while they're doing something else and not able to sit down and read it visually. I think it's going to be a great benefit for people. And I've already been using it a lot with the beta version that we've released. So that's on the immediate horizon.
Okay, that's you're right. That's amazing, because the number of times that I'm doing something where I'm busy with my hands, I can't just sit down and read, but I'd love to have it in the background. That's going to be a game changer. Now, what about, I know we are still in the process of improving the REV, moving it forward. I know the New Testament is considerably shorter than the Old. Do we have any projected dates about when we can say the first edition, the first full edition of the REV is going to be put to bed? Do we have any projections on that?
Well, that depends a lot on the rate of progress, doesn't it? But we have our estimates, our project timeline estimates for the New Testament are about 4 years out to complete our translation of the second edition. And then as we've worked on, you and I with some others, and Bill Schlegel in the Old Testament, we're still a number of years out on that one. I think we're projected around 7 years perhaps to complete the Old Testament, in which case we will then be in a position to put together a full Old Testament, New Testament hard copy for print.
So Jerry, there's a lot in the news about AI and how it's going to change things and stuff. Is that something that we're somehow incorporating into all this work we're doing into the REV?
Oh, I'm glad you asked that, because that is probably the most recent project development with the REV. Is we're going to be working on an AI chatbot to integrate with the REV so that people can actually dialogue with an artificial intelligence about the REV, ask it questions. If you're doing a Bible study and you want to know all the places that in the commentary that talk about a certain topic, this REV AI chatbot will go and fetch that information for you. So I think this is going to revolutionize people's use of the REV.
Wow, that would be fabulous. Yeah, we want to make this as accessible to people as possible. I'm really glad for that. Now, I understand we're also, it's in kind of in a conceptual inception stage, but aren't we working on a full-blown commentary set that'll go along with the REV?
Yeah, actually, we're launching that this year too. We don't have an official name for it. We've just been calling it the Biblical Unitarian Commentary. But we have a couple names that we're going to be soliciting for trademark here in the near future. So we'll have to stay tuned to announce those when they're available. But we are planning to do a systematic, verse-by-verse, book-by-book commentary, beginning with the New Testament. Now, this is going to be a project on the same timeline scale as the original REV. This is probably a 20-year project to get an entire New Testament commentary for every verse that is cohesive and is written to help flow through. If somebody wants to learn a book of the Bible and have comments on every verse. So it's just a huge undertaking, but we are starting that project this year.
Oh, that's superb. Now, if I'm understanding this, what we've got with the REV and commentary now, the commentary is more like you'd see in a study Bible, where what you're shooting for is actually like more of an academic commentary set. Like if you were to go to a seminary and look at commentaries like the Interpreter's Bible or the Word Biblical Commentary or some of those, that's the kind of quality you're looking for. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, but we don't want it to be too inaccessible to average people, but it's going to be a technical commentary, because to study the Bible in depth is a technical endeavor in and of itself. So in order to get at the truths of Scripture, it has to be on a technical level. It's just part of the nature of the business. So it is going to be definitely an in-depth commentary, but we want it to be able to be accessible to people, readable to the average person, so that they could at least understand sort of the rationale behind some of the interpretations and some of the translation decisions and things like that. The REV, as we have it right now and what we work on, is largely kind of a study note basis. We see little problem things in the text and we comment on those little problem areas, but we don't necessarily treat the whole verse, or we don't really treat the verse in the context necessarily. We kind of focus on little isolated bits and pieces. And especially when we talk about how we make translation decisions, we kind of just sporadically, when we think there's something that needs to be said about why we chose one way or the other to render a phrase, we then make comments on those. So this is going to be, I think, complementary to what we're currently doing in the REV commentary.
Boy, that's a great need in the academic world right now.
Yeah, that's something that I think you and I both wish we had.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a missing resource in at least our theological tradition of Biblical Unitarianism, something that we don't have a resource like this to go to. Growing up and in a seminary, I wish there was something like this. You and I have spent long, hard hours searching for answers, and this commentary, of which you're going to contribute as well, this is going to be, I think, for the next generation, that missing piece.
That's really exciting. Probably won't be around to see all of it, but I'm really excited about seeing it get started, because you're right. It sure would be great to have a work like that to be able to use as a reference. So Jerry, another thing I think we need to talk about is that right now as it stands, you don't get to the REV unless you're connected to the internet. And there's a lot of people that travel, or they're in places, or they just simply don't have strong internet. Are we doing anything to make it so that the REV can be native on your device so that you can read it whether you have an internet connection or not?
Well, that's a great question, and something I think we all want. It's a little more complicated than that. To have the REV offline right now, you can get it in like a Word document format or a PDF format or a text document, or you can import it into a Bible software if you have like eSword, MySword, Sword Searcher, Accordance, or Logos. But the REV itself does require some type of network connection. We are looking into doing a complete rebuild in the future of the REV at some point. It is probably a couple years off because it's going to be very, very labor intensive and expensive due to the nature of how complicated the REV is, which is definitely a compliment to our friend Rob Woods, who has programmed this amazing platform to use the REV and has given it such functionality so that not just the general user can search and can store notes and can highlight and do all these other things, but you and I can have editor notes, and you and I can revise the commentary, have draft commentaries, have draft word studies and appendices, and do revisions on the back end before publishing stuff. All that functionality is very intricate. But it is our goal to be able to, in the next version of the REV, be able to allow for offline use so that people can have it available wherever they're at. And then when they get the next network connection, then they can update the text if there are updates available.
Okay, so if I'm hearing you right, basically right now, if you're going to get into the REV directly, you need an internet connection, but you can get a Bible program like Accordance or eSword, or like you said, Logos, or some of the others, and then move the REV onto that, and then it becomes native in your device. Mm-hmm. But then it would be a static native, right? It wouldn't update like naturally. If you're connected to the internet, it updates itself. Correct. So if I put the REV, for example, in eSword, then I've got to go in every few months or whenever I'm comfortable and update it so the latest version is in.
That's right. Okay. And one of our other goals is once we get the second edition fully complete, that it would become a static version. We could submit it to Bible softwares to then have it natively available in those applications. So if you had like Olive Tree, or if you had YouVersion Bible app, that one of the options in there would be to download the REV. and then it would be the REV second edition, and it would be available native on the device. But that would be amazing to have the REV have such widespread access, to have it in those type of platforms. But we pray that the Lord opens those doors.
Well, and it's certainly a worthy version. I mean, like I say, I'd put it up against any version on the market, even as it stands today. So thanks for that information, Jerry. That's really exciting stuff. And, I'm really excited for the future of the REV. It is a fabulous version as it stands right now. And to have it available more widely to more people in an even more complete version with even more commentary, that's a very exciting future for the REV.